Hello and welcome to PA Academy. So in this lecture series, you are going to be learning about the concept two-port network. So we are going to be looking at everything that has to do with two-port network as related to electrical circuit theory. Exactly. So this is a part of the topic under electrical circuit theory. So we are going to be looking at everything that you need to understand under this topic. So if you probably have a little idea, or probably you've gone through the course outline for two-port network, I believe you would have seen something like two-port network, one port, Z parameter, Y parameter, symmetric and not symmetric. So each and everything that I've just mentioned are what we are going to be looking at in this lecture series. So if that interests you, so I want to encourage you to make sure you watch this lecture series to the end. This video is going to be in parts. So this is the first part of this video, which is Introduction to Two-Port Network. So if you are new to the channel or you are yet to subscribe, kindly take out time to click on that subscribe button. You'll find it somewhere below the video, either at the left or the right side of the screen. If it's at the right side, you see a red box with subscribe on it. So just click on it to subscribe to the channel so that you will not miss any part of this video. And also so that you can get notified once I release any video so like this. So thank you very much if you have just subscribed to the channel. And if you are yet to, please kindly just take out 2 seconds to subscribe now. All right, thank you. So now we can go ahead and start to look at the topic two-port network. So to start with now, let's start with what a port is actually it actually means. So if you look at what we have on the screen now, we have a definition of what a port is. It says a port is an access to the network and consists of a pair of terminals. So when we are dealing with two-port network, there's one thing you need to pay attention to is the word terminals. Exactly. So a port is an access to a network that consists of a pair of terminals. The current entering one terminal leaves through the other terminal. So that's exactly what a port is. Exactly. An example of a port is the resistor, the inductor, and the capacitor. Exactly. So these are example of a port. Exactly. Now, what I'm talking about now is one port. We are still going to look at two ports. Exactly. So if you look at it now, with the example that we have here, we have resistors, inductors, and capacitor. So if you look at some of these circuits this component that was mentioned, you see that they just have two terminals. Exactly. Like this is a resistor now, you see it like this is terminal 1. Let's call this terminal 1 and this is terminal 2. So this is a one port. Exactly, because a one port, it has two terminals. Take note of that. So examples of one port network, we have the resistor, inductors, and capacitors. So if you have come across some of these components, you see that they are two terminals component. So basically, when you have a component that is of two terminals, we can also regard it as a one port. Exactly, one port network. So you can see this is just a schematic diagram of what one port network look like. So we have something like this, and then this is the input. So the input to the current, and then through the other side the current also move out through the other terminals. Exactly. So these are terminals. These two here, they are what we call terminals. Exactly. So in summary now, when we talk about one port, it has a pair of terminal. Exactly. And don't forget, when we say a pair of terminals, that means it has two terminals. Are we good? All right. So I believe now you already understand what we mean by one port. So let's move ahead and look at two ports, which is our main focus. Now it says two-port network contains two ports and has four terminals. Remember when we checked one port, we said one port has two terminals. But when we are dealing with two-port network now, two-port has what? It has four terminals. So if I say it has four terminals, it's still the same thing as saying it has two pairs of terminals. Exactly. So that's just English. So I might be using them interchangeably, so don't get confused. So when it said, say something has, let me just write it here, four terminals, it's the same thing as saying it has two pairs of terminals. Exactly. So if it is two terminal, it's just like a pair of terminal. And we could use just like your shoes, like a pair of shoes. A pair of shoes has both the left and the right, for the left and the right foot or leg. So So that's it there. So two-port network contains two ports and has four terminals. So example of those two port circuits includes uh, op amps, transmission wires, transmission lines, transistors, and the likes. Exactly. So these are examples of two ports. Now this is a circuit. So I want you to pay attention to this circuit because this we are going to be working with this when we start to look at the different types of two port circuits. So or parameters. So now this is a typical example. So this is like a circuit here. So these are the terminals, the input side, and then the input port and the output port. Exactly. So that makes it the two ports. And then in each of those ports we have like a terminal, a pair of terminal on the input and on the output. So this is one terminal here. This is another terminal, two, three, and then four terminals. So those are the terminals that they are making mention of. And if you go back to the definition of two-port network, we can see it says it contains two ports and has four terminals, like I said. So this is one port here. This is the second port. Exactly. And then talking about terminals, this is one, two, three, and then four terminals. Then, so let's go back to the initial definition of what a port is. It says a port is an access to a network and consists of a pair of terminals. So we want to talk about, it says the current entering one terminals leave through the other terminal. So now let's go back to this circuit. You can see the current I1, the I1 here is coming in through this terminal here and is also leaving through this terminal. If you look at that of I2, is going in through this terminal and it is going out through this terminal. Are we good? So that's a basic explanation on one port and two ports. So another thing I also want to talk about is when we are dealing with two-port network, we have what we call the two-port parameters. So two-port parameters. So here are some of them that we are also going to be looking at in this video. Number one, we have the impedance. Parameter. So you can also call it the open circuit. The open circuit parameter. Or you can also call it the Z parameter. So you need to get yourself familiar with these three terms because the question can ask you that, okay, find the open circuit parameter. So if you don't know that open circuit parameter is also called Z parameter, you might be confused like what are they talking about exactly. So some might even tell you, okay, find the impedance parameter, and maybe you only know it to be called Z parameters. Exactly. So you need to get yourself familiar with all of this. So the second one that we are going to be another type of two-port parameter is the admittance parameter. So admittance. So this also has another name, which is the short circuit. The short circuit parameter. And then we also call it the Y parameter. Okay, so that's number two. So number three, we have the hybrid parameter. So the hybrid parameter, which is also called the H parameter. Okay, so number four, we also have the ABCD parameter. So the ABCD parameter. So for this ABCD parameter, we also call it the T parameter. Or you call it the transmission parameter. So the transmission parameter, or you call it the cascade parameter. Or you can also call it the chain parameter. So like I said earlier, you need to get yourself familiar with the alternative names for these parameters that I have here. So because for example, a question might just tell you that find a parameter. So they won't even tell you if it is ABCD. Exactly. And for this ABCD parameter, you need to take note, this is the one in capital letter, so it's different. So this is the ABCD in capital letters, take note of it, not that of small letter. So for example, this four that we have on the screen are the four that we are going to be looking at in the course of this lecture series. We have others also, but we are going to be sticking with this four. We are going to be looking at them extensively. We're going to be explaining this and then giving you examples of under each and every one of them. And as we're going to be looking at examples, we are going to be looking at some of the relationship that exist between some of these parameters. Exactly, some of them are not really independent, so there are some relationship between them. We are going to be looking at all of this in the course of this lecture series. So if you are finding value in it, please do make sure you give it a thumbs up. So far now, this is what we want to cover under the introductory part of what two-port network is. Now, in the next part of this video, we are going to be looking at each and all of these two-port network, the impedance, the admittance, the hybrid, and the ABCD parameters. Exactly. So do make sure you don't miss that video, because that's the main part of this particular course. So with what I've said so far now, if you have any question or any comments, just let me know in the comment section below. And like I said earlier, please do make sure you subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. So guys, I'll see you all in the next part of this video where we are going to be talking about impedance parameter. Thank you.